All right, thank you very much. That was great. And now please welcome Marwan Forzley, founder and CEO of Veem.
Good morning. All right, so I thought it would be good to give you guys just a quick background on me and the company. We started the business 3 years ago. We wanted to simplify global payments. I used to run e-commerce for Western Union, and before that I had my own company that sold to Western Union called Veem. And prior to that was another startup, again, a system that sold to Nokia, so I spent all my life basically starting up a company. It's exactly back and forth, and so back to the startup world. The whole point of Veem is really to simplify global payments. When you buy coffee in the morning, you don't think of the way you pay, you just do it. Whatever you have in your wallet, cash, card, you pay and you move on. Payments is the last thing actually on your mind. Typically you think of your emails and calendars and everything else in life except how to pay. When you want to move money to any other part of the world, whether you're moving to China or India or Germany or Brazil or anywhere else, it's the opposite of that experience. It's something that you actually have to think hard about. You have to plan your day. You've got to figure out when to make the payment, because a lot of the infrastructure used to move money around the world is old-fashioned infrastructure that needs to be ripped up completely, and a new system needs to be in place to simplify the function of moving money. So if you think of why is the experience so painful to move money, if you are a payer, let's say you're a company here in California and you want to pay a supplier in China, you have a form like this that you have to fill. This requires 26 pieces of information that you need to collect. There's a wire fee that you have to pay. There's foreign exchange you got to figure out. You may have to show up and do it in person at the branch. You got to figure out what is the right cutoff time, because if you miss the cutoff time, you got to have to show up the next day. And after all this, you move the funds, and you don't know what happens to your funds until the receiver tells you, I have your money. And it's 2017, you can track your status on airlines, you can track your FedEx shipments, you can track your pizza delivery, but for some reason, you can't track your funds moving around the world, which is kind of interesting that we're living today in 2017, and basic things like tracking your payment cannot be done. The experience is actually equally painful to the receiver of the funds. The receiver does not know when to ship you. They have to constantly check the bank account to see if there's money. When they find out that there's money deposited in their bank account, there's an entry like this that shows up on their statement that doesn't really mean a whole lot. You have to actually decipher this statement to see who paid you, how much did it cost you to get that money, what was the foreign exchange fees charged. And so all this is a function of the underlying infrastructure. The underlying infrastructure, money moves from a bank to a bank to a bank to a bank. The banks in the middle make all the money. It costs roughly about $40 to send a wire, $20 to receive a wire, and you lose anywhere between 2% to 4% to move money. And it's your money, and you just don't know what happens to it. And the experience is totally inconsistent. So if you're sending money from Wells Fargo here in the US to HSBC in Germany, it's not the same experience, it's not the same fee, it's not the same menus compared to sending money from Chase to Fido Bank in Germany. Despite the fact you're sending money from the US to Germany, the experiences are totally different. And that's because of the underlying infrastructure, the enablement technology that sits underneath all this is designed in the 70s for a totally different era. And so there's quite a lot of money that moves like this. Every year there's 26 trillion in dollars that flow on bank wire using a SWIFT messaging structure. 6 trillion of that belong to small business. They pay 50 billion in fees. And a lot of this money is going through the banks. There's alternative payment providers, but generally speaking, the banks control pretty much the flow of money that moves around the world. And the reason why the alternative payment providers like Western Union and PayPal and TransferWise and everybody else, a lot of what happens in the market tends to be small incremental changes to an existing process. So typically, cheaper FX and a better user interface, but nothing radical compared to what you see from the banks. And so we wanted to take a very different approach to the market. We ended up with 2 layers of innovation. The first layer is actually the way you move money around the world. So it's a very simple experience. You have a profile, you link up your bank account. To move money to the other side, you simply enter an email address and the amount of money you owe. The receiver gets a message, hey, there's money coming to you from the US, it's the equivalent in local currency, claim it. When you claim it, you set up your profile, you link up your bank account. Once that's done, we pick up money from one currency and deposit in another currency. The IP underneath this, the technology, is built on a system called multi-rail, which is the idea of routing payments on multiple methods of multiple technologies to move money around. So we have our own bank accounts, we call that treasury. We use the blockchain. We have access to local payment providers, and we also have access to SWIFT, and we route between different methods on different rails to move the money. This is what the experience looks like. It's really simple. So if you're moving money to China, all you need is the email address of the receiver in China and the amount of money you owe them. So like an email address, $10,000 USD, it gives you the exchange rate. We are transparent on the exchange rate. We tell you exactly, this is the mid-market rate, this is what we're charging you for that transaction. Everything is self-serve. You do it anytime you want. You don't have to show up to the bank, and off you go. The receiver gets a tracking function at the top. So this is kind of like FedEx for payments. Every time payment moves around from one node to another, we tell you, hey, money's moving. You know exactly who's paying you, how much you're going to get in your bank account. You know that this money belongs to that invoice for that contract. So the payment and the data is all tied together. The underlying infrastructure is built on a fairly modern stack. There's $0 to send money, 0 to receive. We make money on foreign exchange, so built into the spread, generally anywhere from 1 to 1.9%. We route based on different technologies. We're one of the most active participants in moving money on the blockchain, as well as existing rails. The most important thing is the experience is completely consistent, regardless of the country. So if you're moving money to China, or Brazil, or Germany, or India, it's the same fee, the same experience, same menus across the world. This is the list of countries we move money to. We're active in 60 countries, so it's a fairly wide infrastructure that we're working with. A number of the countries that are receive only, we're converting to bidirectional, so we can move into the country and pick up money from these countries. This is the type of customers that use us, typically SMBs. They pay their suppliers around the world. They move money between their own bank accounts. They tend to be a lot of tech, e-tail, SaaS, hardware, IoT, wineries, galleries, import-export. All of them have one thing in common. They don't understand why they need to deal with a buyer, and they just don't get it. It's like, just do it for me. This stuff is too complicated. That's the type of customer we tailor to. So just to sum it all up, the team that we put together is a fairly experienced team. We all come from essentially Western Union, PayPal, Intuit. We put together a relatively simple experience. The idea is to dumb it down so that when you're moving money around the world, you don't have to think about it. Because when you have to think about moving money, it's just not a simple experience yet. It really needs to be, you just do it. And then built on a fairly strong and next generation technology, we push the envelope on routing algorithms between different methods to move money. We're one of the largest payment processors on the blockchain. When we started the company, we took a position that the idea of the blockchain is really to use it as a rail to move money from point A to point B. This rail gotta be able to move money bypassing correspondent banks, because when you make money in a transaction, the correspondent banks are making the bulk of that money. And so if you find other methods to move money, you essentially save money that's taken by the correspondent banks, and you pass it back to the SMB that really needs it, and it affects their bottom line. That's basically it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. Thank you for that.